Among the palm trees, paella and pinchos of San Sebastian is a determined Scotsman, quietly going about his business. But in this football-mad region, deep in the heart of Basque Country, you won't find your typical Brit abroad.
¿Tu contento aquí, en San Sebastián, con la Real?
Sí, estoy muy contento en la Real. Y me gusta San Sebastián.
After more than 30 years playing for and managing some of the biggest clubs in the British Isles, in November 2014, David Moyes made the bold move to northern Spain to take the reins at La Real, Real Sociedad to many of us.
La Real, as it's called here, has been known for having managers from the UK or from Britain. No, John Toshak was here for a long time. Also, not just managers, but players. It's always encouraged players from other countries to come, but if you look back at, even like John Aldridge and Dalian Atkinson, Kevin Richardson, they've all played here. So the supporters, I think, are used to the Brits being here, really. But I've found the supporters really good. I think the expectations with me coming is that the team will do better, we'll get much better as seasons go on, and I think we will as well. But everywhere I go, everybody's wishing us good luck.
I like him. I think that he's a good manager for the Real Sociedad.
He's Scottish, and that is for us is very important because we are Basque, and I think that the Basque people and the Scottish people have the same way.
Beautiful place, isn't it?
Fantastic place, and I've got to say this is a beautiful part of the country, and it gets good weather as well. It's not all rainy like it is back in England.
If we can just ask, away from work, what do you like about this area of Spain?
Well, the people are very good. There is an awful lot of British, Irish about them. They're proud of their area. A bit Scottish as well, I've got to say. There are a lot of them up here. They would like independence, like many people in Scotland wanted. So they're a proud people.
What about the Spanish? I know you're having 2 lessons a week.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I'd like to do more, but when you're in this job, time restraints are difficult as well. I've got to say, I'm really enjoying it. Learning Spanish, trying to speak Spanish. And what you find, I think, is, people tell you when you sort of immerse yourself and you're living in the area, I can understand a lot of it. Very difficult to speak. They speak so fast as well.
Do you have kind of extra admiration now for a Roy Hodgson and Arsene Wenger? Because not only are they good coaches, they speak different languages,
Correct.
More than one in some
Yeah, definitely.
respect.
I mean, you talk about them, but you think of how difficult it must have been for people like Sir Bobby Robson, Terry Venables, people who went away years ago when, nowadays, we're doing it through interpreters, even, the pre-match press conferences, I've got somebody with the headphones on. Must have been much more difficult in those days for those managers to do it.
When you accepted this challenge here, how much have you felt point to prove? I need to rebuild my reputation.
None of that. I had worked in the Premier League for 12, 13 years. Certainly a bad 9 months wasn't going to sort of change what I'd done in all the rest of the time. So, not at all. But this was always something which I wanted to do. Always wanted to have a chance of working abroad. I don't think we export enough British managers. And even now, I could say I don't think there's enough British managers working in the Premier League. And why should they not get the opportunity? From what I've seen out here, I think there could be more British managers work in Spain quite easily. And, we don't tend to do that. So I felt it was an opportunity now. My career path had gone in a different direction. So I thought this was the right time to do it.
What are the biggest changes you've made to get La Real to where you've got them right now, in terms of preparation for games, training, all the rest of it?
Well, I wouldn't say there's been an awful lot of those things that we've changed much different. I mean, the big thing was that we're staring at relegation. But La Real were a team who had been, a year or so ago, I had played them in the Champions League with Manchester United. They had qualified at the start of this season for the Europa League. But they'd started poorly and weren't in a good position. So, it looked like it could be a relegation fight. So thankfully we've got away from that and we've got ourselves pretty safe. And, it's not completely done yet, but that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing we had to do. And in the main, we've achieved that. But the changes what we would do, I couldn't come in here and say, this is what we've done at Manchester United, this is what we've done at Everton. No, I was coming here to learn what they do in Spain, not necessarily to come here and tell them this is what we do in England. So for me it was to come in here, see what they do. Of course I'll implement changes, of course there'll be things which is done slightly different back in England than what it's done here. But I don't think the first thing I could do is come in here and say, hey, yous have got this all wrong. If you look at what Spanish football, Spanish teams have done in past history, whether it be World Cups, European Championships, Champions Leagues, you would have to say that they're the ones who most people are trying to follow. But there's a great policy here at the club where they try to bring as many players through their academy as possible. It's a philosophy to try and get the bulk of the squad from the academy.
How did it come about that Billy McKinlay came here to join you?
Well, I had known Billy for a long time, and I'd known the work he had done, and he was a qualified coach, and I always had thought about Billy. He's a good football guy, always was on the scene, always interested, always trying to find things out. And I had him in mind a couple of times, if an opportunity came along, I'd be interested in taking Billy.
He said on record that he always wanted to come abroad and see what the work was like and try his hand. So it was almost, in his thoughts, probably came a little bit quicker than he expected or he wanted. So, but he's been terrific. He's hands-on. He wants to do everything and talk about everything and control everything, which is fine. He's had great success with that over the past. So I'm just kind of jumping on his coattails and listening to him and making sure that I'm picking up as much as possible.
Since he came, I think the team has made a big step up, and well, we're all trying to talk to him to get new things, and I think since he came, the team is much better now.
Kick-off times.
Kick-off times are a big shock. 10 o'clock at night, there'll be 8 o'clock at night, there'll be a game at 4 in the afternoon. But the kick-off times are difficult. I think since I've been here, I've only had maybe 3 afternoon kick-offs. Nearly every game's in the evening. Whereas, coming from the UK, most people, football time was sort of 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Obviously now television's changed bits of that. There are lots of games on Sundays and maybe a Monday night game now. But over here in Spain, certainly the kick-off times could be all through the day. It's incredible.
Is the Barca victory the biggest high so far with La Real?
I'll tell you what will be a bigger high if I beat them in the second game, because to do the double over Barcelona would take
at the Camp Nou as well.
Yeah, not half. But I'm nearly whispering it because I've still got to go there and play. But you're right, there's very few people beat Barcelona, and I went to watch them quite recently in a couple of games nearby at Athletic and also at Eibar, and they were in a different planet from anything I've seen. And I think they've proved that this year as well at the moment.
Your first Basque derby clash with Athletic at Anoeta was a draw. How did it compare to a Merseyside, a Manchester derby?
A little bit different, because the Basque derby is a friendly derby here, because the Basque supporters, or the Basque people, are very much one. So La Real supporters, Athletic supporters were all going to the game together. They'd drink in the bars together, they'd go and sit next to each other, because they're proud of their region, they're proud of their teams. So that is different from, say, a Merseyside derby or a Manchester derby.
Despite the rigours involved in running a big European side, the former Everton and Manchester United manager still finds time to keep track of events back home.
From my opinion, I think it's as poor a Premier League as I've seen for maybe since the start of the Premier League. When you think of the great players who have graced the Premier League and the teams, I look at this year and I look back and I say, well, I don't see that. I see good teams, very good teams, and some great players, but I just don't see the competition the way it was in years gone by.
Do you miss the Premier League personally as a manager, and what would it take to tempt you back?
I'm not missing the Premier League just now for reasons what I've said. I've actually come and I've seen something else. I've seen another league. I'm enjoying going to different stadiums. I'm enjoying working with different players. As we talked about, trying to learn the language, the culture. So I couldn't turn around and say I'm missing the Premier League at the moment, no. But obviously it's where I've done most of my work, and in time I've got no doubt I'll go back there. But at this moment in time I'm really enjoying my time in La Real.
Too early this summer?
No, as I said, I'm working here, and that's what I want to do. I've come out here, the opportunity was right, the time was right, so I want to do that, and I want to learn out here, and I want to try and get more contacts, understand Spanish football better, Spanish players. And once I've done that, then, you know, maybe once I think I'm ready, then it might be time to come back. Have you had other managers, British managers, come to you and inquire about what it's like, almost because they actually fancy it now? Well, I hope that when I get back and I speak to them, I'm sure there'll be a lot of things they want to ask, you know, the differences, comparisons, you know, what's it like working with Spanish players, communication, all the things which I would have wanted to hear from before I came out if there was somebody who I could have spoke to about it. So maybe in time when I'm a bit older, then if anybody else takes up the challenge, then I'll be there and hopefully able to give them some advice.
It's been a testing first season for San Sebastian's favourite Scotsman, but one David Moyes insists he's enjoyed, and despite constant speculation linking him with a move back to Britain, the man the locals call Moyes has his sights set for now on future success with Real Sociedad. What I'm interested in is trying to make the team better, trying to improve them. A bit like we've done at Everton at the start, because when we were at Everton, you know, Everton were very close to the bottom of the league, not big money, and the job there was to try and make them better. Well, I think over the years we grew it year and year, got better, with a few 1 year good, 1 year bad at the start, but I think in the end we ended up getting a club and a team who were regularly finishing around the top 6 or 8, and you know, if I can try and do that here at La Real, well, that would be, I think, a good job done. Is a Champions League position an aim? Is that realistic? It's an aim, but you have to. I mean, I've always said, you know, no matter who you are, you've got to, your ambition's to win the league. But hey, let's be realistic. You know, for me to have won the league at Everton, for example, would have been incredibly hard. For me to win the league with La Real here in front of Barcelona, Real Madrid is, you know, nearly unrealistic. But do you set out to try and do it? Of course you do. If you fall short and you end up in the Champions League or the Europa League, well, so be it then.